Hey, I'm Kevin, the student pastor at Shorewood Church again. Thanks for listening to our message. We strive each week to bring you relevant, practical, biblical teaching that meets you where you are. To find out more about us or what's going on at the church, head on over to scog.com or download the app. Hope you enjoy the message.
Good morning. We are in the middle of a series called Hall of Fame, Leaving a Legacy, and we have gotten to talk about all kinds of different people in the Old Testament. We've talked about murderer, liars, cheats, all these people we should be looking up to. We've talked about guys who have all kinds of issues and problems, and God continues to use them. And even through their stories of trials and victories and defeats, he uses them today. When we think of people in the Old Testament, we think, oh, wow, I could never measure up to Abraham or Moses or Elijah. The problem is they are real human beings just like us with the same issues and family problems and weird kids and crazy spouses. I mean, not me, but you guys have crazy spouses. That they have to deal with. And we get to see how they deal with it, their failures, their issues, their warts. We get to see how God uses them in spite of all of that. Over and over and over and over and over again in the Old Testament, we get to see that. And these guys make the Hall of Fame. They are the most influential people in the Judeo-Christian history. Their examples echo through eternity, and we get to examine that. And so today we're going to continue this idea with a man named Elisha. Not to be confused with Elijah, Elisha. Really wish Elijah's, protege would have been named something totally different, like Bob. That would have made this all easier. I don't know how you guys do that, but I even messed up my notes. I don't know if the predictive text or whatever, I was typing along and just going real fast, and Yvonne comes back, were you meaning Elisha in all these notes? Like, dadgummit. I even know who I was talking about, and I still typed it wrong. So you can be forgiven if you get Elijah and Elisha confused. Okay, so what we're going to delve into him today, so turn into your Bibles to 2 Kings chapter 2. We're going to be 2 Kings chapter 2 through 5 really today. We're going to kind of do a overview of Elisha's life, just parts of it. He has got so many fun things that he does. One of the more interesting miracle workers in the Bible. And if you study Jesus and you study Moses and then you study Elisha, you kind of go, I've heard this story kind of before. And that really dawned on me this week as I was studying Elisha, is there's miracles of a little bit of food being given to him, and then all of a sudden a bunch of food coming from that little bit of food. There's a moment in which one of the very first miracles Elisha does is he takes a cloak and he smacks the river with it, and it parts, and so he walks across it. Sounds a little bit like Moses in there, right? So there's these nuances that keep on going back and forth that Elisha gets to participate in. Elisha lays next to a kid who's dead, and the kid starts sneezing and comes back to life. Well, we have that kind of same sort of story reciprocated in with Jesus. Like there's all these, whoa, wait a minute, I've heard this one before. But maybe you haven't heard it with Elisha. We don't spend too much time in the Old Testament prophets. I don't have a flannel graph. If you're old school, we all know who went to Sunday school if I say flannel graph and everybody starts grinning. The people that have smiles on their face, they went to Sunday school. You're not looking down on you if you didn't, but the flannel graphs were these, it's a piece of flannel with these things that were kind of pseudo-Velcro that you could move little Bible characters around and deal with and learn your stories. Now, my mother has a personal vendetta against flannel graphs, and she would rather come up with all kinds of different ways to tell stories in the kids' wing. But always, you see the flannel graphs. If you walk into any church today, probably you go back to the Sunday school rooms, you're going to see some sort of flannel graph, except one that my mom's been a part of. She's lit them on fire. Who's telling the story back there right now, by the way? 3 weeks after losing a leg, she's back there teaching kids about Jesus. Amen? All right. She's like, so how are you going to get me downstairs so I could teach the kids again? I was like, I don't know where to put an elevator, Mom. Like, can we just do a pulley system? Like, what are you going to do to get her downstairs? But I'm really excited about that and excited to have her back. There's some more fun stories that are coming out about even churches in our community that have been affected by Mom that are going to come to a sermon near you soon. But really, really exciting. Back on track, Jared. Elisha. So anyway, we find Elisha in this really interesting spot. He is following his mentor is Elijah, the most famous prophet there ever was. Elijah and Elisha are kind of the superheroes of the Old Testament, especially this Middle Kingdom part. You've gotten past David, you've gotten past Moses. They're around 800 to 900 BC. They're alive. Elijah gets to call fire down from heaven, right? He's the big bad. He fights with prophets and pyrotechnics and all kinds of fun stuff. But Elijah also struggles with crippling depression. So you think it's cool that you get to be a superhero, but then you don't understand that you comes with all kinds of depression with that as well. He's very human in that aspect. Elisha, his protege, doesn't get really the pyrotechnic part of being a superhero. He gets to do all kinds of fun stuff. One of his interesting miracles is this guy is chopping wood and the head of the axe flops into a river. And he's like, no! If you've ever lost a tool in the water, that's not a very fun thing. Because even if it's 2 feet down, you still can't find the thing. It's just gone. You're like, I know it's right there. It fell. It's heavy. It's water. It's right there. It's not right there. You find it. It's 20 feet that way. You're like, how did that happen? Elisha does this interesting thing, and the axe head starts to float. He's like, here you go. We're not even covering that one today. I just think it's really cool. So there's all kinds of different accounts of miracles that Elisha gets to be a part of. And what he teaches us in these miracles, in these happenings of his life, that I really want to grab a hold of this morning, is that Elisha leaves a legacy of vision. Elisha leaves a legacy of vision. Because in all the different things that Elisha faces, he has this uncanny ability to see the opportunity, to see how God's going to be working, to see the good in it, to see where can I bless God? Where could God bless these people in this weird circumstance? Whether that's an axe head falling into the water or a soup being poisoned because somebody used the wrong turnips. It's in there. All these different happenings. Elisha has this vision, this uncanny ability to see someone where they're at and the pain that they're in. Whether it's an extremely poor woman who has nothing to her name or a woman who's doing all kinds of other stuff. He sees with vision the opportunity that God has to move in their life and to change something. Now, I don't know about you, but I need this kind of vision. I want to leave a legacy I see people, not necessarily the issue that they're coming with, but the issue that they're dealing with. Have you ever had a conversation with somebody or just watched a conversation and you see this war blow up right in front of you and like, they were way out of line. And you're just judging them because of how ridiculous they were in that second. If you take a step back, you realize their home life is falling apart. So-and-so is sick. So-and-so just lost a job. And you're seeing the result of all the stuff that they're dealing with. You know what I'm talking about? Now, I'm getting better at seeing that in other people, in you. Right? When I talk to somebody, I hear a story, like at the baseball diamond, this has become my ministry. This has been really, really fun at the baseball diamond. Is someone, for some reason, I'm the guy that everyone comes up to complain about something. I don't know. I don't deal with complaining very well. So they come up to me, and I was like, hey, well, did you know this was going on? What? No, I didn't know this. Did you know his son just broke his arm and he doesn't really want to be coaching this whole year, but he's still sticking it out? I didn't know that. You might want to cut him a little slack. Right? And like, oh, my goodness, perspective. There's a vision of seeing what's actually happening behind the scenes, right? So I think that's easier when you get other people, when you see other people. Like I can see Van Eyck's issues, but if it's my issue, right? And if it's an issue with my wife, then I'm just wrong. Right? But we have these ideas and this stuff that's happening is where we need the vision that Elisha has, that God has granted Elisha to see whatever's going on behind the scenes. And over and over and over and over again, in the miraculous work that God does through him, we get to see his vision take place. Elisha leaves a legacy of vision. The very first time we meet Elisha is in one of these unique circumstances. Elisha is doing work. He is using the 12th team of oxen for his family farm. He's got a plow. He's got everything's going on. He's just doing his thing. And so this is the scene. He is doing his thing. He's tilling the ground, working it. And this man, Elijah, comes up behind him, throws his cloak on him, and walks away. Now, remember, Elijah's still in his depressed, cranky pants mode, okay? And so he's like, God told me to do this, so this is what I'm going to do. He throws his clothes on to Elisha and just walks away. And Elisha's like, what in the world? It's hot out here. I'm doing, what is going on? And so he's got this cloak on, and he's like, wait a minute, that's Elijah. Miss Superman just gave me his cape. That's what's actually going on. That's what Elisha would be like, oh! Right? Like if this is, Baez saying, hey buddy, you want to play catch with me? Oh, and here's my glove. Why don't you play next inning? He's a Cubs baseball player. Okay, sorry about that. Sorry. That would have worked way better at the baseball diamond. Anyway, that's what's going on. It's just this Superman just said, here you go. Here's my cape. You follow me if you want, whatever. I'm just walking away. And Les says, hey! I'm like, what? I mean, he is cranky. If you read I'm not making this up. In chapter 2, he's like, what do you want? He's like, can I go tell my parents bye? Because he knows what this means. With giving him his cloak, he's saying, who I am, I'm going to make it to you if you want to come follow me. That's what's the unspoken thing that's happening right here. And he just starts walking away. Elisha says, can I go tell my parents? And he looks at Elijah, and Elisha says, do whatever you think's best. Like, seriously, cranky? Right? Like, yeah, I want to go be your student. He's not selling this, right? It's divine calling on his life. And Elisha says, okay, hold on. He sees what's going on behind that. He doesn't go and talk to his parents. What he does is says, I understand this is a divine appointment. He kills the oxen, and he burns the farm equipment to make the sacrifices to God, because he said, this is a divine moment. He sees what's going on behind what's going on. Now, oxen are incredibly expensive. This would be like a farmer around here taking one of those ginormous John Deere tractors and be like, you know what, let's just light it on fire. They're $100,000. They're expensive pieces of equipment. They got GPSs. They don't really have to drive them anymore. They know. I've been inside them where they know this yielded 25 this and 85 this, so you need a little bit more nitrogen in the soil. It tells you everything. It would be the equivalent of the farmer just saying, you know what, a farmer's son going, you know what, I'm going to light that on fire. Now that might be cool for a second. Until your father finds out what you just did. Yeah, right? Dad, don't use your guns. Elisha does this. He destroys priceless farm equipment. He destroys the oxen that are priceless themselves. Because he recognizes the moment. This isn't a moment in which I got to go tell my parents what's going on. This isn't a moment in which I just can leave. I have to stop for a second and say, God, you are amazing. Because I think in a moment, Elijah needed to see that Elisha was serious about this divine moment. Elisha, and the very first thing he does is he has vision on what the story is behind the story. He leaves a legacy of vision. Second, now we're going to fast forward to the end of that ministry. Elijah's getting ready to die or go up to heaven, and he apparently knows it. And so we're in 2 Kings 2:9. Elisha leaves a legacy of vision. When they crossed, it's a river, Elijah said to Elisha, tell me, what can I do for you before I'm taken from you? Elisha, with this amazing spirit, knowing the story behind the story here, he says, let me inherit a double portion of your spirit. I want double what you have. I want double of it. Think about it. He's telling Superman, I want twice your powers. The audacity of this. But the story behind the story is, I want your spirit. You have asked a very difficult thing, Elisha said. Yet if you see me when I'm taken from you, it will be yours. Otherwise, it won't. What he is doing here is there's 50 other disciples of Elijah that have been following him around the desert. There's 50 other guys. Now, they're kind of a motley crew and not necessarily on the ball as much as Elisha is. Okay, Elisha's definitely number one. Elisha's definitely the one that has kind of the more of it put together. And so Elisha is the number one student, number one disciple, the most favored person here. And he's closest to Elijah, and so he's going with him when God's going to take him up to heaven. And so what Elisha is asking, there's 50 other yahoos around here. Make me as your son. This double portion is the firstborn son. You get it all, son. So Elisha's not just asking for a double portion of his spirit or something like that. He's saying, make me as your son, Elijah. Adopt me as that all of who you are would become all of who I am. He sees the story behind the story, and he says, I know you're going to be away from me, and someone's got to take the reins. Someone's got to step up. And I'm not so sure these yahoos got what it takes. But that's what he's stepping into in this moment. He sees what's going on. I think this means Elisha sees a future in loss. He sees a future in loss. How many of us are paralyzed when we may be losing a mentor or a loved one or someone who means a lot to us? We get paralyzed in the loss. And all we can think about is the bad part of this. And Elisha can see beyond that, has the vision to say, how do I lead well through this? How can I step up? What is it going to take for me to be the person that I'm called to be, even in a loss? Elisha sees a future in loss. This is powerful. And you see the difference in Elisha and the other 50 in the next couple verses. See, this miraculous ascending of Elijah happens. Elisha sees it. The chariot comes down, fire, and he goes up. And this really cool thing happens. And Elisha says, all right, here we go. That just happened. Like, how do you process that? Like, chariots of fire came down, picked up my boss. Just another day. And he goes back to the other 50. And they're like, where's Elijah? He's like, he's gone. But where is he? How do you tell that story, right? How do you surely? He goes up. And so they're like, and they keep on whining, where is he? Where is he? Let me go find his body. Let me go find his body. He's like, he is gone. He went up. He's gone. Fine. Let us have 3 days. 3 days, go look for him. They look everywhere for 3 days. They're running around. He's not there. Are you done yet? Elisha knew that these guys weren't going to take this well. They were going to be aimless. They weren't going to know what to do. And it was too important to keep this crew together. Remember, just a couple years before this, probably 20 years before this, the country of Israel and Judah are in the midst of this crazy pagan stuff going back and forth, and crazy kings and queens and all this stuff. And these 50 have to be solid. They have to know who leadership is. They have to do what they're going to do well, or it means terrible, terrible things for the Hebrew nation. So Elisha says, okay, what's going to take me to lead well? Go look for him. I know you need a process, you need to grieve, you need to figure out what's going on, but he's not there. There are times in all of our lives when we get stuck in our present pain that we miss future opportunities. Having vision is what lets us see them and act on them. And I don't know where you're at this morning. I don't know what you're going through per se this morning. But I ask you a hard question. Is there a present pain that just keeps on just weighing on you that you can't get through to see the opportunities that might just be lying in front of you? This morning might be a time to pray that you could see the opportunities despite the pain. That's a hard prayer. And it's one where we keep on coming back to our present pain and our present problems and our present stuff. But having a vision like Elisha does means that we can look past that. See the opportunity, see the beauty, see the future of what could be in front of us. Next thing that Elisha does is he sees provision in desperation. Elisha sees provision in desperation. This is a fun story of what happens in 2 Kings 4:2. There's a woman, she's incredibly poor, and she's lost everything, but she's been a fantastic woman her whole life, and she comes to Elisha and says, I don't have anything. I have nothing. I need help. And he says, what do you have? Like, I love that. He doesn't be like, oh, here's $100. Or he doesn't, let me take care of you. Let me do this. He says, what do you have? It's a dangerous question when a prophet asks you that. What do you have? She says, I have one little cup of oil. I can work with that. And so this is what happens. Elisha replied to her, how can I help you? Tell me, what do you have in your house? Your servant has nothing there at all except a small jar of olive oil. So what happens, he says, go get all the Rubbermaid containers. Go get them all. What? Go get them all. If you got some old last week's lasagna in one, dump it out. Go get all of the Rubbermaid containers. In fact, go get all your neighbors' Rubbermaid containers. Why? What am I doing? Just go get all the containers. Rubbermaid didn't exist in 800 BC, by the way. Just clarify. It may feel like it. It'll exist in 880, or 8000 AD, but it won't now. So you have this container of oil, and it starts to overflow. Put another container. What is going on? Put another container. So now her house is full of of oil vats, of this olive oil vats. They're just being placed everywhere, and she's like, go get another one. That neighbor, I know you've got 2 more. Can I have 2 more of these Rubbermaid containers? Come on. They're hidden. Clean out whatever you had leftovers in there and give it back to me, because she's just overflowing. And finally, when all the neighbors' Rubbermaid containers are exhausted, the oil stops flowing from the container. This is a weird miracle, isn't it? We think of that as like, it's olive oil, Jared. It's $2 at Mariano's. It's like, who cares? In this setting of olive oil is your primary cooking agent, right? Olive oil is your primary medicine. Olive oil is used for everything. Olive oil is a cleaning agent. Olive oil is a cooking agent. Olive oil is a healing agent. Olive oil is used for everything. And she just now became Joliet's #1 seller and stock provider of olive oil, right? Her financial change just in an hour, or however long it took for this olive oil to start pouring out, her whole life changed. And I think about this is a moment of desperation, a moment where I have nothing left. All I have is this tiny little bottle of olive oil. That's enough. When we change our perspective and change our vision, what can I do with this? Because God continuously, through the Old and the New Testament, he sees a little bit that's offered to him and multiplies. He does it with fish and loaves. He does it with olive oil. He does it. And some of you this morning are coming into a moment where you are desperate because you're looking at your bank account, you're looking inside your purse, you got your cushions of your couch up, and you're going, well, maybe there's a quarter in there somewhere. We've been there. And in that moment, that's where God says, are you ready? Are you ready for something cool to happen? And it takes us to have the vision to see what could happen and to trust that something could happen in here to go get the containers. I love that she has to participate in this miracle. I love that she has to go do something. Because if she would have just been, well, here's 3. I got these 3 things. Really, that's all the containers you got? That's all. She would have had 3 containers of oil and maybe enough to last her a couple days. But instead, she bought into this desperation mindset and went and bugged her neighbors for all their stuff and changed her whole position. I think there's so much to learn in that. The vision of seeing the problem and seeing the solution and seeing something that could be. And so often we get so myopic in our issues and our problems that all we can see is the pain, the issue, the problem, the lack of, that we can't see how God is going to work in the future. This is Elisha's vision, and it's the legacy that he leaves. Elisha sees provision in the desperation. I imagine that she had all kinds of excuses. I imagine that there was these checks, like, this is weird. That's a shoebox. How's it going to hold, oil anymore? How's this? That's not a, I'm just going to do it. How many checks on our own mind that we try to talk ourselves out of God moving in our lives? I know I do. Yeah, that can't be from God. That's a little too weird, a little too hard, a little too uncomfortable. Elisha sees through that. Next thing he does is Elisha sees blessing and hospitality. 2 Kings 4, 8 through 10 and 15 through 16. One day Elisha went to Shunem, and a well-to-do woman was there who urged him to stay for a meal. So whenever he came by, he stopped there to eat. She said to her husband, I know that this man who often comes our way is a holy man of God. Let's make a small room on the roof and put him in a bed and a table and a chair and a lamp for him. Then he can stay there whenever he comes to us. Then Elisha, okay. They're like, okay, let's do this. For 5 verses. Then Elisha says, hey, call this woman. So he called her, and she stood in the doorway. He looks at her, and he says, about this time, next year, you'll be holding a son in your arms. In this moment of amazing hospitality, because if you live in Israel and it's 120 degrees outside and you don't have air conditioning, the best possible place you can be is on the roof, right? The best possible place you can be. We have, it started getting really hot. It went from like 40 degrees in June to 150 degrees in July really quickly. And so the dugouts at the baseball diamond went from being nice places to keep us out of the cold wind to sweat boxes that would roast you alive, and we could probably cook something during the games. And they don't have any windows, and they don't have no air movement. And then you're surrounded by preteen boys and no air movement. This is not a fun place to be, right? This is what the inside of a house in 800 BC would have felt like. You don't want to be there. It's roasting. There's no air movement. What are you doing? So you get on the roof, and that's where it is. She is not just saying, let's give him a place out in the barn or a little place. Let's give him the best possible place we can be. She's showing extravagant hospitality. And so this has been going on for a while, and Elisha, what happens in this story is Elisha's talking to one of his proteges. He said, what can we do for her? Well, she really wants a son, really wants a child. Well, let's take care of that. And so that's when he responds, next year, you're going to have a baby. Her next line is, don't mess with me. Don't you mess with me. Don't. We were cool. I gave you a place to live. Don't you mess with my heart like that. You're going to have a son. Elisha sees blessing and hospitality. This is the beautiful thing about hospitality. When you show hospitality in extravagant ways, you usually are blessed back in extravagant ways. There's people maybe in your life that have refrigerator rights. Don't you love the people in your life? There's some people that you love that have refrigerator rights. Some people are like, you take a little bit too much. Right? I expressed my refrigerator rights at the Nascaran's house yesterday. And I don't know if I was allowed, but I did anyway. But it's just wonderful to be able to walk in and having a conversation like, you know what? I need lemonade. There's lemonade in there. I'll go get lemonade. No one's going to be mad at me. Like, what are you doing? It wasn't laid out in a perfect picture. Oh! Right? You have the people that in your life where you're like, well, it's got to be in there, and the doily's got to be here, and the salad fork's got to be here. And then you have people, they walk in for the second time, and you're like, you know where it's at. That's what Elisha and this lady are becoming. You know where, you just do your thing. And through that is this amazing blessing. Maybe I've just taken advantage of people's refrigerators too much in my life, but the stories and the people that I love and the people that I come back to, the people that I'll drive hours out of the way or I'll change a vacation plans for, the people that I have refrigerator rights with, people that I look at and go, that hospitality has changed who I am, and maybe the hospitality I've gotten to show them has changed who they are. And in that reciprocation, you have these beautiful stories that start to take place. This is what happens here. Elisha is given refrigerator rights. And then after a while, he says, how can I bless her? She's been so good to me. And he blesses her in an extravagant way. There's all kinds of fear about being that hospitable, going out of your way to let people in your life. It's not clean. It's not this. It's not that. Refrigerator rights don't mean that the floors have to be mopped every day. Refrigerator rights say, you get to see me who I am, and I get to see you who you are, and we develop a deep, deep relationship. He sees the blessing in hospitality. Elisha sees healing in humility. Elisha sees healing in humility. This is an interesting story. In 2 Kings chapter 5, there is a general named Naaman. There's a general named Naaman, and he is not an Israel general. He's not a Judah general. He is an enemy general of the kingdom of Aram. He is a bad mamma jamma. This is like, he is a really good general. And he takes it to Israel every time he fights them. He whoops them every single time. One problem, Naaman comes down with leprosy. Now, leprosy is no joke. If you've ever seen a leper colony or read anything about leprosy, leprosy is terrible. It's basically the nerve endings in your body start to die and you don't feel pain. Well, that sounds kind of like a superpower, except when you don't feel pain in your hands on a stove and all of a sudden your hand's on fire and you're like, oh, well, that's a problem. Right? And that happens over a period of time, and so all of a sudden you'll go to scratch your nose and you didn't realize that you had something sharp in your hand and you cut your nose off. Or you go to grab your ear because a fly blew by and you rip your own ear off. Or you cut your hand and then it gets infected. That's why things start to fall off with leprosy. So this is where you don't live in a place with peroxide and neosporin and antibiotics. Being a leper would be a very, 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 very bad thing. Did I set that up well enough for you? Okay. And so this awesome general on top of the world, he's amazing at what he does, all of a sudden starts to get leprosy. Appropriately, he's a little wigged out about it. Right? I feel like you could be excited if you had leprosy. This is fine. And so he's starting to get very agitated about this. And what should I do? And he has a Jewish slave girl that he's taken on these raids that says, hey, there's this prophet that could probably heal you. There's this prophet that probably could heal you. Who's that? It's Elisha. Now, I don't know what she's doing. I don't know what, she's like, well, Elisha's going to whoop your butt because I know his mentor calling down fire from heaven and you're going to get roasted because you're a meanie head bad general. I don't know what she's hoping for, if she's hoping, what's going on. That may be a motive. And Naaman says, all right, we're going to go find Elisha. He goes to the king of Israel and says, hey, where's this guy? Here's some gifts. Where's Elisha? I want to go find him. He goes, finds Elisha. He's going to try to find Elisha. Elisha won't even talk to the guy. Elisha's like, whatever. He's a bad general from the enemy team. I'm not talking to this guy. Servant says, we really got to talk to this guy. It's kind of a big deal. Elisha says, all right, go tell him to dip 7 times in the Jordan River and he'll be healed. That's the big plan. Go jump in a lake is what he tells him to do, right? And so Elisha is seeing what's going on here, and Naaman says, what? I'm not jumping in a river. I'm not, what is this? And someone with a lot more wisdom than than Naaman had said, if he would have asked you to go do something crazy, you would have done it. But now that it's simple, you're not going to do it. There is a lot of truth for that in our own lives all the time. right? If God says, hey, go talk to this person, you're like, no, God, I thought I was supposed to jump off the Sears Tower in a tutu. That's what I was supposed to do. In youth ministry, it's like everyone's like, I'm supposed to be a missionary. Well, you can talk to your neighbor and be the same missionary, but unless God says you're supposed to be a missionary to Timbuktu, you're not a real Christian. That's not how that works. Now, nothing wrong with being a missionary to Timbuktu, but you're called a missionary to 3611 Landings Road just as much as you are here on Helene Street. We're all called to do that. And so this call is, go jump in a lake. Now, Naaman is incredibly powerful. Naaman is incredibly successful. He's an enemy general. And Elisha has this opportunity. He could have said, no, I'm not healing you. You keep on killing Israelites. Fair enough. That would have been probably my plan. And you wouldn't even have to do anything. I wouldn't even have to kill him. Just said no. He's got leprosy. His days are numbered. But instead, he sees the vision and says, go, wash, dip in the Jordan River 7 times. So he does it. And is healed. Now something amazing happens in this. Naaman says, oh my, this God is a real God. I'm not serving any other gods except the God of Israel. This God is God. And his life has totally changed. So now he took his number one enemy and turned him into an ally of Israel. It takes vision to be able to see that. Naaman is so moved by this that he actually takes dirt from Israel. So wherever he goes, he can put down some Israel dirt and pray to God. I got some Israel dirt here and pray to you. He even says, okay, Elisha, I got a problem. My king is old and he needs me to go pray to his God. I'm not praying to that God. I'm not down with him anymore. I'm down with Yahweh. Yahweh's God. Okay? But can I go in there and just be a crutch for him to lean on? Will I be okay if that happens? And Elisha's like, yeah, you can honor your king. Because he's going, don't take this away from me. Don't take this beautiful thing. I've been clean. I've been healed. Elisha sees healing in humility. He is humbling Naaman. Here is this great, powerful, amazing guy having to jump into a lake and dip himself 7 times. Now, I just have this, what would that look like? Did he go full force into it? I don't know. But here he is, having to jump into a river to be cleaned. Not do something crazy, not do something fancy, but there's something beautiful and healing about being humble. Elisha sees this. Elisha leaves a legacy of vision. He sees a future in loss. He sees provision in desperation. He sees blessing in hospitality. And he sees healing in humility. For us this morning, can we grab onto maybe 1 or 2 of these and start to change the way in which we see the world? See the people around us, see the situations we're in. You may be going through something really tough, really difficult, really heartbreaking. But what if we get past our present pain point to what the future can hold? To see what God's up to. To see the opportunities. Can we be humble enough to let God work in us? Can we be hospitable enough to be a blessing? There's these moments in our lives in which we get so caught up into the here and the now that it destroys our future. It destroys our hope for our future. Elisha's legacy is always the ability to see beyond that. This is bad, but that's better. It's a legacy that I want to leave. It's a legacy that I want to impart into my children. It's a legacy in how I want to lead my family. Maybe it's for you as well. Let's pray this morning. Lord, I want to have vision like Elisha, that I could see the opportunities and the hardships, see the opportunities and the ups and downs of life. That the people you put me in contact are not distractions, they are opportunities to be your hands and feet. Lord, would you give me the discernment to speak love and to live it out in my situations? Some of us are struggling through major things right now, and it feels like we're being crushed. Would you help us get our head above water? Lord, would you give us strength and courage? Amen. May today be a day in which we start to have vision, a vision like Elisha. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you all the days of your life. You are dismissed. Go with God.
Thanks for joining us at church this week, and a special thanks to all those who continue to support our mission through your generosity. You too can support our mission to reach, grow, and serve our community by giving on the website or through the app. To make sure you never miss out on a message, be sure to subscribe, and don't forget to hit that share button to spread the word. Have a great week.